Can you tell me your civil rights experience?
Yes, the first one was very, very frightening. I was on my way to the University of New Hampshire in the summer just to take a course, and I had never been in that up that way before. So I stopped in Boston. I wanted to see Boston, and in fact, I really wanted to see a little
I'm
bit
gonna
of the
stop you because I
nightlife.
did. I'm gonna stop you because I didn't hear you say. You could have said the summer of '68.
All right, all right.
Okay. All right. So we're gonna start all over again.
And
Okay.
also, please make sure you're looking at background
That's what I
Look
was
at
trying to
that,
tell
yeah.
her. I
Okay.
was like pointing to
Uh,
you, right? Okay. So, tell me about your civil rights experience.
My very first one was extremely frightening. It was about the summer of 68 when I was going to the University of New Hampshire. And I had never been north, and I wanted to see Boston, the capital supposedly of freedom. And I got lost, and I stopped in South Boston. And it was night, or at least approaching night. And I parked the car to look at a map and to find my way. And some students saw me, and they began throwing rocks at me. And they broke the front window of the car. I put the car in gear and dashed to the nearest police station. But I do remember one of the girls said, "See, she has a map. She's just a stranger, or she's a tourist." But it was too late. They had already broken the window. I called the the Urban League or the NACP, and he declared there was nothing he could do. I found out that that was during the time that they were integrating the swimming pools in Boston, and it was prior to their riots that they had had there. That was my first experience. I went on to New Hampshire, and the people were very nice, but what I did learn that it was lots of white people and a lot of trees. My second experience in the civil rights movement was very moving in that I was living in Northeast Washington. My mother had died, my brother had died, and I was living in a house alone. So I seemed a little frightened because some cat or dog was breaking into the basement, and I had to continue calling the police. So I decided that I wanted to buy a co-op. So when I moved into Northwest, we were not really accepted west of the park, west of 16th Street, they said. So therefore, I had a hard time. I went to a realtor and he showed me around. There were a couple of places that actually literally refused me when they found out that I was a black person. Of course, my credentials were okay. So finally, when he found a couple that would accept me, we had to, they had to put in a civil rights suit in my behalf. Finally, the board turned me down, and the first time, and then finally, after the suit, they accepted me through a voice vote. So technically, was neither voted in. However, when I moved in, they had already put a smoke bomb under my previous tenant's home. So I was really afraid. I did not know what was going to happen to me. So I even had a friend who was a detective stay there with me. And the FBI called me and they said, if you have any trouble, let me know. So they expected some kind of trouble. So I was very upset. That was the very, very first time. But after about 2 to 3 months, they got used to me. They found out that I was not a rowdy person, that I had civilized guests, and it became a very, very pleasant experience.
Why do you think that these problems was being created on her behalf? Don't forget to get this video a like.
All the people were very nice, or at least cordial. They wanted to know me better. They invited me to their homes. and invited me out. And it really was an extension of my social life. So that's all I have to say about that. I think I became unafraid of the white experience or the integrated experience because I was one of two teachers that were one of the first two teachers on the secondary level to teach in a high school in Washington, D.C. I taught, I was an academic teacher, English and probably history or geography as we did then. I taught, it was two black teachers and two black students, and we were the only ones in the building of over 1,000 kids, students. That created something. I thought I was accepted. So I wanted to join the bowling club. And they said, no, we're not having bowling this year. At the end, they were running around congratulating one of the English teachers because she was the winner of the trophy. So they had the bowling. But however, I realized that it may not have been a slap against me, but maybe even the bowling alley had to be integrated. So, I don't think maybe that it was all their fault. But I never knew. All that year they had bowling, and I never knew. So, however, and then there were some boys who wanted to beat me up. And they knew I didn't drive then. I rode the bus. And I stayed in the teacher's room doing my homework until after the kids were on the bus. And about 6 boys, well, that day I had actually slapped a boy. I'm sorry, that was before corporal punishment was outlawed. So I did. He was very noisy and very disruptive, and he was the leader of the gang, and I absolutely did. So that evening, they came back, about 6 of them. I came out of the teacher's room, and I stared them down, and I just looked at them, and I said, do you really know what you are doing? And they all walked away. And nothing happened, and it was a changed situation there. I don't know what occurred or why, but they realized that beating up a teacher was not the thing to do, and they also realized that this boy was not too acceptable. That was frightening, but it has been difficult. It is very difficult. There are so many stories to be told, even about the children. They said, Mrs. Williams, you are a teacher. They said, you don't know what happens in the lunchroom to us. As I told them they should be better students and so forth, they said, you don't know. It is very, very, very uncomfortable, the horrible things that occur. So anyway, I've had my experiences, but it has made me braver, I think, in my personal life.
And really, that's what I was about to ask you as we conclude.
I
wanted to ask you, how do you feel that these experiences that you have had during the civil rights movement, during the struggles for social justice, how has that affected you as the person that you have become?
Well, I'm afraid that I fear nothing in terms of that kind of thing. And some of my white friends, which I have had in the past, have told me that I don't carry a stick on your shoulder in which you carry a chip on your shoulder. I don't feel that all of them are to blame because I understand that it happens in their childhood. And it's a part of American psychology. I was in Canada, and I was talking to this man, and I said, you can look me in the eye because you have no guilt. Many American whites carry the guilt and the shame of slavery. But it's not so much slavery, it's what has occurred since slavery. The numbers of times that they've said no to a black person. Now, there's another apartment that I wanted to go to live in, and I called a person who was white, Jewish. And she said, well, if they don't want you, they don't want you. And I thought she was a friend. But it has widened, I believe, my areas of life. I had room in this apartment, which we consider 2 rooms or 1 bedroom. This had a wall-to-wall closet, which we think is something great now. It had a full dining room and a living room and the one large bedroom. So I took a tenant, and I also became a part of Servos, which is a foreign host type situation. And I have been able to host many people from foreign countries until I was able to travel. And then I traveled through Servos. So it's widened my life and made me a more alive and alert person, maybe more conscious of racial instances of what is it they do? Instances of the kinds of elimination that they do to us, the kinds of things, little shortcomings, the kinds of insults that we may not be aware of. I am aware of them. I've seen little children, and I know the camera might be off, little children, one little girl, 2 years old or less, she started crying when she saw me in the elevator, and I am the kindest, nicest person. And I knew then, parents teach them to do that, unless you are the nanny or the mama. And that hurt me when I said, so when I went to a human relations group, one girl said, we said, how do you think this will be solved? You know what she said? That all people over 2 years old should be killed. In other words, she said, they're taught that. That was sad to me. So even today, we know that the problem will not go away. However, I feel all black people should travel not only to Africa, but otherwise, because we are a good luck charm, not a bad luck charm. In Russia, some of them think of us as a good luck charm. I was in the park, and there was a wedding, and they said, "Oh, come and be in our wedding." I said, "But I'm not dressed." They said, "Oh no, you're good luck, good luck." I hope they're still married, but they had me drink champagne, and I have pictures of that. Yes, and there is a difference between Africans and African Americans. And I won't go into all that, but it's wonderful traveling and knowing that American, your citizenship is wanted, sought, desired by almost everybody in the world. Now, I'm not sure, I'm not speaking for the 2000s, but it has been. It has been, and so I told a person, now this is a bad thing to say, as an African American, I said I'd rather be a second-class citizen in America than a first-class citizen somewhere else. See, because we have many, many, many privileges that we don't even understand, but we take for granted. And I think since Katrina, we have understood a lot more than we once did. So I think I'm finished.
Well, thank you very much. It was a pleasure having you here. And Auntie Nuke, if you can walk.
Aunt
You can walk her out. I'd appreciate that. And we will be in touch with you.
All right.
Okay?
Oh, I would like, and you said October.
Who would you like for me to do a video on next? What are your thoughts about this video? Please share them in the comments. Please be honest when answering these questions. Share this video with anyone you deem necessary. Don't forget to like and subscribe to the channel.